After a busy time, Jack and Tu Tien decided to return to their familiar farm to start renovating the vegetable garden that had not been cared for a long time. The old vegetable beds, overgrown with weeds, were cultivated, tilled, sown by the couple together. Every moment brought a sense of peace, simplicity but full of happiness. In this video, you will experience a day of being a real farmer with Jack and Tu Tien, from weeding, replanting vegetables to taking care of every little detail to make the garden green again. This is not only a journey to renovate the vegetable garden, but also a meaningful time for both of them to find simplicity, closeness to nature and build sustainable values together. Right finger if you love farm life and want to see more daily moments of Jack and Tu Tien. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel to follow the next journey. Herb. After many months of being busy with work, the tight schedule made it impossible for both of us to return to the farm. Today we decided to put everything aside to return to a familiar place, the small vegetable garden that was associated with so many memories. In the past, this place was always full of life, rows of green cabbage, rows of climbing cucumbers, baskets of fresh vegetables brought to the market to sell or cook cozy family meals. But now, when we stepped in, the scene was somewhat different. The old vegetable beds were covered with weeds, the dry and cracked soil. The bamboo trellis that had been hastily erected was now crooked. Looking at that scene, my heart was both sad and full of determination. The scene transitioned. Jack and Tu Tien held hands, carrying hoes, sickles, bamboo baskets, watering cans, and walked step by step into the garden. The gentle sunlight poured down, clearly illuminating the smiles on both of their faces. Although tired from the hustle and bustle of the city these past days, when returning here, all worries seemed to disappear, leaving only simple happiness. Jack looked around and then turned to his wife, softly saying, "You see, the vegetable garden has been asleep for too long. It's time for us to wake it up." Tu Tien nodded, her eyes shining with hope. "Yes, we will revive it together, so that this place will be green again like before." That moment was not simply the beginning of renovating a garden, but also like a promise that no matter how busy life is out there, every time they return, the two will still work together to cultivate, sow seeds, and build the simplest things. A new journey begins, and the once lush green garden will soon come to life in the arms of Jack and Tu Tien. The grass grew tall and dense, covering most of the vegetable beds that used to be neatly arranged. The green weeds crowded together, stretching out to occupy the space that was originally meant for young vegetables. The land was dry, the surface cracked in long streaks like deep scars after many days of harsh sunlight and lack of care. In the corner of the garden, the bamboo vegetable trellis was rotten. The ropes were loose, each stake was leaning as if about to break. The whole scene appeared both desolate and evoked a vague sadness. Tu Tien paused slightly, looked around the garden, and sighed. A slight smile was still on her lips, but her eyes shone with regret. "I admit that I have neglected it for a long time. It hurts to see it." "Doesn't it?" Her voice rang out, both sad and a little self-reproachful. Jack stood next to her, silent for a second, then turned to smile gently. "Yes, but I believe that as long as we work together, the garden will be green again." That simple sentence, but containing faith and encouragement, made the atmosphere seem to brighten up again. Jack knelt down, his hand gently touching the dry, cracked soil. The broken soil particles fell through his fingers, but in that gesture, a strong sense of connection with nature was exuded. Tu Tien also walked over, bent down with him, and placed her hand next to her husband's hand. In the frame, those two small but determined hands seemed to be talking to the land, promising a revival. A gentle wind blew by, making the grass blades sway, carrying the pungent smell of dry soil mixed with the scent of the field wind. The scene stopped at Tu Tien's eyes, her gaze no longer sad but instead hopeful. Here, in the middle of a messy garden, the two had found the motivation to start over. Not only is it about improving the soil and rebuilding the vegetable trellis, but it is also about cultivating trust and love, things that help them turn a withered garden into a green, vibrant place. The hoe in Jack's hand was heavy, but it made a steady rhythm every time it touched the ground. Each hoe stroke was decisive, stirring up the dry, hard soil that had not been fertilized for a long time. The soil gradually broke up, became loose, as if awakened after a long sleep. Not far away, Tu Tien bent down to pull out each clump of grass. At first, the grass had deep roots. Clinging tightly, unable to break, her hands were covered in mud, sweat rolling down her cheeks. But then, when both of them worked together, each patch of soil was stirred up, each clump of grass was pulled out, and the empty garden gradually appeared. The scene of overgrown grass gradually disappeared, replaced by neat, loose rows of soil. Jack's bright smile, his eyes shining with determination. Tu Tien's face was red from the sun. A few strands of hair were sticky with sweat but still shone with gentleness and perseverance. They were tired, but in each look, people saw joy and hope. After cleaning up, the couple started to rebuild the bamboo vegetable trellis. Jack used a hammer to knock the bamboo sticks into the ground. Each clack, clack sound echoed in the quiet space. Tu Tien quickly tied ropes around the joints, her skillful hands making the trellis more sturdy. Jack turned to smile while driving the stakes. "Just looking at you tying the rope, I know this trellis is sturdy." Tu Tien looked up, smiling brightly. "Yeah, the vegetables will be able to climb freely in the future." The two burst into laughter. Their clear laughter seemed to blend with the wind, making the working scene warm and full of life. When the vegetable trellis was finished, they started to sow seeds. Tu Tien carefully opened each seed packet, sprinkling them evenly on the loose soil. Jack followed, lightly covering them with a layer of fine soil to protect the young shoots. Then the two of them carried the watering cans together. Each stream of clear water fell down, soaking into the dry, thirsty soil. The drops of water sparkled in the sunlight like small, sparkling gems, carrying the promise of new life. Jack and Tu Tien stood side by side, their hands still covered in mud but their smiles bright. On the ground were rows of newly sown vegetables, newly erected bamboo trellises, and an atmosphere filled with faith. They had sown not only vegetable seeds, but also hope, joy, and love into this land. In the late afternoon, when the sun had softened, the whole garden was covered in a cool green color. The rows of young vegetables were in straight rows. The leaves were swaying in the wind. Under the big tree next to the garden, Jack and Tu Tien spread out a small mat, put down the basket of vegetables they had just picked. The bamboo basket was full of bunches of fresh green vegetables, lettuce, sweet cabbage, water spinach, a few sprigs of fragrant basil. The light pungent smell of the vegetable leaves mixed with the scent of the countryside wind, making the air fresh and strangely pleasant. Tu Tien lifted a branch of young vegetables, admired it, then turned to Jack, a bright smile on her lips. "From now on, this vegetable garden will be the place where we take care of it together every day." In the evening light, her voice rang out like a promise. Jack was silent for a moment, reached out to take his wife's hand, squeezed it gently, his eyes shining with unspoken agreement. They sat there, next to the basket of green vegetables, but their hearts were filled with simple joy, the joy of seeing their efforts bear fruit. The newly erected bamboo trellis stood tall. The young vines had begun to stretch and wrap around. Each row of vegetables was neatly arranged, the young leaves glistening in the afternoon sun, as the clearest proof of the journey of revival. Reviving a garden is not only about taking care of the plants, but also about finding peace, nurturing love and dreams. In the midst of the hustle and bustle of life, this place becomes a place for us to calm down, to plant together not only green seeds, but also the belief in a bright tomorrow. Beads of sweat still lingering on Jack's forehead. Tu Tien's gentle smile as she rested her head on her husband's shoulder. In the distance, the birds flew back to their nests. The scene was completely peaceful. The ending ended with the image of a pair of hands clasped together, placed on a basket of fresh green vegetables. Right finger, happiness is sometimes simple, just sowing seeds together and waiting for the day of harvest.